Yes, I think we can start the webinar. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. And sorry for the inconveniences. So due to the enforced digitalization we have right now, so all systems are overloaded. So thank you for joining us now. So let us start the webinar. My name is Olena Grinyuk, and I'm Regional Manager for the Central Eastern Europe at the SME Banking Club, and I will be your host today. And today we're going to discuss the topic of open banking analytics and how banks can leverage to attract new customers and get higher digital conversions. And I'm glad to be joined today by Strands team, Brian Stewart, present here right now, and we're waiting for Leandro Gimeno to join us a bit later.
Thanks, Olena. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for joining us today. So just to mention, the Strands is recognized as the fintech partner for the banks and servicing more than 700 banks implementations in 36 countries. So thanks for joining. And before we start, let me quickly mention organizational moments. So our webinar is scheduled for half an hour. We are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and the end presentations as well. And in the end of the webinar, we're going to have time for questions. So please type your questions now, even during the presentations, and we will be ready to answer them in the very end. So please type them into the chat. So let's go to the topic. On September 14 last year, PSD2 went into the full effect in the European Union, and it made possible for the third-party providers to connect to banking APIs to obtain the history of customers' accounts, make payments, or check the availability of funds. And what we actually expect, which benefits we expect here for the SME segment. So this is, first of all, is account aggregation and better financial management, credit check services, alternative payment methods with the better visibility for the customer, better cash flow control and forecast, and of course, customized services and products for customers with more choice. Which examples do we see right now in the CE region? So the one that I actually wanted to show and present, this is actually the example of the account aggregations from the ING Bank in Poland, which aggregated account information from 7 banks in its app for the individuals and entrepreneurs. So now the customers of the bank have access to the account balances from 7 banks in Poland and to the account history. So this is based on the account information service of the PSD2 directive. And so at the moment, not available such functions as transaction statement, downloads or downloads of the proof of the transaction. So this should be done from the application of the bank, which was actually used for making the transaction. Other bank, also one of the top banks in Poland, that announced in the digital strategy that they will implement the aggregation, the account aggregation in the nearest 2 years. And also they will use PSD2 to proceed with the fast loan application for the non-customers of the banks. So if a prospect applies for a loan in the bank, so there is no need for the customer to deliver any additional information, because a bank can get the information from the bank's account at the moment from the 4 banks in Poland. So get information from customer's account and make a decision based on that. Of course, customer should give a consent on that. And the other example that I wanted to share, and we actually discussed this almost 2 weeks ago, we had a webinar with factoring fintech from Poland called SMEs, and they actually used PSD2 also to download bank account statement of the customer and actually to decide on whether to finance invoice of the customer or not, because almost all of the customers of this fintech are new to them, so they don't know the customer. And of course, when the customer gives the consent to get an access to the bank's account, to their bank's account, then this fintech proceeds with the decision of financing the invoice of this concrete customer. So this is actually the examples I wanted to share. And this is actually a good feature. Also, there was latest the example from Revolut, and they launched this open banking functions, meaning account aggregation, for their retail and business customers in the UK, so that now their customers can connect external accounts to the app, making it possible also to see balances and the transaction in one place. And this is, of course, a good feature both for customer and for the banks, because for customers, if you like the interface of the app, then it is convenient for you to have everything in one place. And for the banks, of course, if you have all the information of the customers' accounts, you can make very accurate offer to them. And I think this is just the beginning of the journey. So banks started to see open banking as the opportunity, not only as a compliance requirement. For example, two banks in Poland are registered already as a third-party providers. So we expect that we'll see more solutions on the market very soon. And because if you as a bank, when you have your APIs ready and you invested a lot of resources to implement this, then you have, and you gave to this project a very high priority, at least last year, because this was a regulatory project. So then you invested in this a lot, and then I think now this is the time to monetize it somehow, and not only develop the APIs but also to consume them. So actually now I want to pass the word, Brian, to you. So please share your view on the topic and how banks can leverage from the open banking.
Sure. Perfect. So, Alina, thank you for that warm introduction. I kind of just want to start off by welcoming everyone to today's webinar. And yet again, we apologize for the technical issues. Yeah, one sec. Okay, so just I wanted to cover. I just want to review what we're going to cover today. I want to split the agenda into 3 parts. First part, we'll have an introduction to Strands for anyone that doesn't know, and the second part, we will explore the SME banking landscape in terms of open banking, and then we'll wrap up today's webinar by answering the million-dollar question: how banks can attract and retain customers through open banking analytics. Okay, so a little bit of knowledge about Strands. So Strands has been experts in AI, machine learning, and big data, and this has enabled us to be able to provide a highly customizable digital money management software for some of the top tier banks or financial institutions in the world. Okay, we currently have offices in Barcelona, Buenos Aires, Miami, and Kuala Lumpur. So I'm not sure if you can hear the noise, but I'm actually based here in Barcelona. So I think Alina covered a lot of this, but I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of a global view on Strands. So in terms of, we're dealing with 35 million transactions per day. We have 100 million banking users using the Strands platform. And also mentioned by Alina, we have 700 banking implementations spread across the globe. And you'll also see some of the tier 1 banks here. So we've actually helped them with their digital transformation journey with SMEs. Also, I just want to bring out, I'm sure everyone will notice that there's not a lot of names or there's not a lot of traction going on in Central Eastern Europe. So this is why we're here today. We want to be able to help you guys exceed your digital transformation journey, and I'll be here to help. So as I said, Strands offers a end-to-end retail and SME open banking solution. We have a PFM, so personal finance management, and also a BFM, and also the API hub. And we also use the Engager for insight-driven user engagement. I think for today, for the theme, let's concentrate on BFM and Strands Engager, and you'll hear me reference some of the products during the presentation. So yeah, I think Leandro, when he joins, he'll be able to provide more clarity on this. But as I think I think everyone's aware that we're hugely excited for Strands to become part of the CRIF family. So it's very positive, and I'm sure when Leandro joins, he'll have some additional comments to close on that. So let's have a look at, I think we're all pretty much aware that, you know, with open banking, there also comes an opportunity, but you know, there also comes some threats from what I like to call these neobanks. So if you look at these neobanks, they're very customer centric. So they really part of their offering is customer engagement, and maybe it's something that, you know, at this moment in time SME banks are kind of lacking. So in terms of finance management centric, so if you look at all these neobanks, actually BFM is pretty norm in terms of these offerings. So it's key just to understand that a little bit further. So as Alina mentioned, the Revolut use case is a great story, but it also opens the opportunity for SME banking to start to incorporate some of the BFM functionality into their offering. So you'll see a lot of SME banks partnering with digital money management providers such as Strands. So as you know, it's fair to say, and I'll just echo what Alina said. The open banking is let's take it as an opportunity. Okay. So I think at this thing really, like I'm pretty new to the whole finance vertical, but I captured this and it really makes sense to me. So if you just step back and actually read it, so Samir Kumar, from the global head of analytics at Standard Chartered Bank, he made this interesting quote. So data offers the intelligence to make sure what the client is being offered by the bank has value and relevance to their choices. So we've spoke a lot about Revolut. So this is a really good example how Revolut have made themselves relevant. And I think what SME banks need to do today is sit back and really understand, are they relevant to their customers? Are they providing products and services that are actually helping the SMEs? So in order to understand that, let's have a look at the SME ecosystem, okay? So you can see that there is a lot, behind an SME, there's a lot of financial transactions going on. And what SMEs are looking for today is either a bank to consolidate all these financial transactions into one offering, okay? So what I'm going to do here is just kind of briefly touch on the BRFM and Engager offering from Strands. So what the Engager module does, it leverages customer transactional and non-transactional data, and this allows the bank to provide personalized insights and notifications, and also prompt the next best action. So I think this is a good example. If we're going to draw your attention to the right-hand side, you'll see what kind of personal insights we can offer to SMEs. So, for example, your balance has fallen below 10 euros. Please take an action to avoid declined payments soon. So this really informs the SMEs of their financial transactions, and it also gives them full control around their cash flow management. And it also, if you look at the great news, so the third one down, great news, you've been pre-approved for a business loan of 30,000. Payment terms can be spread over 3 to 6 months. So what does this enable SME banks to do? Well, I think it's clear. it allows SME banks to offer additional financial products to SMEs, and it also makes the SME banks become relevant, because, as we said, SME banks need to become relevant to SMEs. So I'm gonna, so this is the million-dollar question that we discussed at the beginning. So how can banks attract and retain customers through open banking analytics? I think I touched on it a lot. SME banks need to be relevant to their customers. So putting the customer experience at the forefront of any financial product that they offer. Fintech partnering and proven innovation. So I kind of discussed for SMEs, SME banks, that the open banking is an opportunity. So by partnering with third parties, you're able to offer your customers the best-in-class solutions. So a good example of that would be BFM, also with Engager. Okay. The third one, and this is, I think this is the whole theme of today. How do SME banks gain more insight and leverage customer data? So I think we should use the customer data as leverage, and it also enables SME banks to become more relevant. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up. And Alina, you did mention Alor Bank at the beginning, and mBank. So obviously we all know that the competition out there for SMEs has the ability to offer money management capabilities, and we've seen it with the Revolt case study. So why did I pick these two banks? Obviously they're in the CE region, and it's also it also makes other banks aware that banks in Poland are very innovative, and they're moving quickly to be relevant to their SME customers. So with that, I'd like to wrap up, and maybe just as a call of action from my side, if you would be interested in contacting myself or Leandro, you can, our contact details are there. If you're interested in requesting a BFM Engager demo, please, the link is there. And I've also included some additional reading around SME banking intelligence. And also, if you want to find out more about our SME products, please, all the links are included there. So Alina, with that in mind, can I hand back over to you for our questions and answers?
Yes, sure. Just let me know that Leandro actually joined us. Leandro, can we have you right now? Maybe you would add something. So while we're having, while Leandro is joining us, let me.
Hi guys.
Hello. Yes, we can hear you, Leandro, but don't see at the moment.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yes.
Here.
Yes, we see you. Great to have you. So would you add something, because we just finished with Ryan's presentation. Actually, I have a question to you, of course, and I also encourage our attendees to type your questions into the chat, because we have now the time to answer the questions. So Leandro, yes, pressing the word to you.
Can I just jump in here for 1 second? So Leandro, I just informed everyone that in terms of the CRIF acquisition, I know that you had some comments that you wanted to include. So maybe that'll be a good starting point for you.
Yeah. So hello everyone. The CRIF acquisition gives us a tremendous possibility to broaden our offering. As perhaps Brian was stating, we are actually growing massively as a company. We will end up around 800 million euros by the end of this year in revenue as a company. We're a 5,000 employee consortium, so to speak. And the idea with the CRIF acquisition is to broaden our offer, basically with CRIF products, like, for example, aggregation, payment initiation, and many other products we're going to inherit in our portfolio. So the idea for us is to, in a very short term,
Yes, thank you, Leandro. My question actually is to you both. So, as now we all understand that the winners will be the banks actually who will cooperate with fintechs and actually with each other probably as well. So my question is, and as actually now when we are enforced to the digitalization and time to market of the new solutions is really crucial right now, and it is recommended, it will be faster to use ready-made solutions. So what does it take from the bank side in terms of time and resources to implement such solutions with you? So how many time is needed, what team is needed, and what are resources are needed? So
this is a very important topic because now the world is changing and digital is increasing even beyond. So we have examples of going up to production in 4 months. So basically what the bank would need, it would depend if the bank would want to have an on-premise or software as a service solution. For us, works either way. In the case the bank is willing to do it on-premise, they will need to get their infrastructure ready. In the case they want to choose on a software as a service proposal, they can leave it onto Strands. So we really have, out of these 700 banks we have worldwide, 2 of them in 2018 have chosen our software as a service offering. So on a timing perspective, it's a range between 4 to 6 months to be able to be up and running on any of our solution offering.
Yeah, this is great actually, because we did last year, the research on the online banking for business customers, and we will update also this year. And what we saw last year, and actually at the beginning of the year, not much changed, but I think that it will change this year. So that less than 30% of the banks in the CE region have implemented a BFM model or kind of other additional, let's say, we call it from the bank perspective, additional services, but for SMEs, for small business customers, this is actually a vital services because this is their daily business life. I mean, the BFM, the managing of the finances, some accounting modules or e-invoicing modules. And at the moment, like less than 30% of the bank really implemented this for their customers. So if we see that the simple, now we consider that such functions as account history, transaction in foreign currency, in local currency, etc. So this is that almost all the banks have in their online banking, and this is not that, so this is becoming a standard, a must-have, so, and this is not that differentiates banks on the market. Meanwhile, such additional services, as BFM mentioned here, what we are discussing is that the function that differentiates actually a bank on the market. And what is more, what we see that also small business customers are expecting from the banks already to receive some services. Because, SMEs, especially when you are a sole trader and you are engaged in everything in your business activity, so you do everything. You sell, so you want to be occupied with your core business functions and not doing accounting. And if we turn to the BFM, actually, many business owners, let's say, they don't have, skills maybe, or analytic skills, let's call it like this, to analyze their finances, to predict their cash flows, etc. So that's why actually having this implemented for the SME is very crucial and giving really a value to the small businesses. So I hope that, and if you have this like up to half a year implementation term. So this is, I think, very good. So I hope to see new solutions actually on the market, because being an SME customer also, in Poland, I'm choosing a bank which really has this additional functions, so I think that
Yeah, successful banks are the ones who are going to be able to help their customers increase their revenues. So there is a very basic example that, for example, Starbucks knows their customers when they get into Starbucks, but the banks know how many times these customers go to other Starbucks competitors. So to apply machine learning through BFM to help their SMEs to increase their revenue, especially at this moment, would benefit their SMEs to, on one side, reduce attrition, and at the same time to increase transactionality, to be able to, for the bank to monetize their customer base. So machine learning is definitely the way, and BFM is the proof of that to make these banks be more successful.
Yes, exactly, and you know, and crucial now both for customers and for SMEs, you know. Yes, and we have a question here. So I will read. Strands' approach it is to work integrate also already existing banking partners from factory in PFM area, or they have their own full suite of products. So this is a question. So actually, are you acting as a solution aggregator?
Well, yes, the main thing is that we don't compete against banks. That's the main point here. We are a fintech which helps banks. So Virgil, thanks for the question. Basically, when we mean a solution aggregator, would be in the sense that we have a certain set of solutions that would be managed by the bank that we can deliver in a software service as a service mode, but the bank always have full control of this solution aggregation. So for example, if you want to extend merchant matching tools, payment gateways, if you want to interconnect marketplaces, for example, to increase your SMEs revenues, that solutions can be facilitated by Strands, but they will always going to be under the bank's control, because we will always be backing up the bank commercial policy.
Mm-hmm. While we're waiting for additional comments, what are the resources? I mean, the people resources. What did the team needed from the bank side to do such an implementations from your experience?
Well, I would divide. One thing is implementation, and the other way is the other team should be the marketing people. So on the implementation side, usually there is a back end and the front end integration. So if the bank wants to control the front end, that's fine. We can give them freedom of choice, and they can take our web developer portal or feed data from the API. That's one thing. We can also give them a turnkey solution, and we can take care of the full project. On the back-end integration, we should need to have access to ETL and online banking information, and perhaps third-party information. We will do the whole rest. So once we get all the data in one database, it's Strands' thing to apply our technology and deliver the solution. The other thing is that on the marketing or on the business side, would be what the bank wants to do with this data. Do you want to sell more loans? Do you want to increase your credit card transactions? Do you want to implement payment gateways? So it's more business oriented. So in that case would be, okay, let's prepare a plan about how you want to monetize this with your existing products under your existing environment and your and the products you want to propose to these customers based on these different journeys. So there should be an involvement at an MVP level, and we can help you even in consultancy services around that to be able to create and deploy this business case, which is going to be backed up with the BFM application.
Okay, I see. So I see don't have questions at the moment, so we actually are running out of our time. So I will be then closing the webinars, and also we will send all the information and presentation after the webinar. And I invite you and encourage, if you have some questions after you see the presentation or the video recording, so please don't hesitate to write either to me, either to Leandro and Brian by email, which we also provide to you. So we'll see if there will be a new question here. So meanwhile, I will announce also our next week's webinars, because we are we are online every week we have new topics to discuss. And next week I invite you to join us. So every Monday now we have Agile Mondays. So at 11 a.m. we are talking about agility. So next Monday we will speak about agile in risks. And on April 29, we will speak about digitalization beyond slogans. So how, from the banking perspective, this digitalization in crisis time looks like, and how banks actually can cope and thrive in this crisis time. So thank you. Yes, thank you also for all our attendees for participation in this session and the engagement. Thank you, Leandro and Brian, for the presentation. So we are closing the webinar. Thank you very much, and see you next time online. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.